Texas was finally woven into the rest of the country. By the end of the 19th century, 10,000 miles of steel, wood, and rock crisscrossed the state. What had once been wide open country was now marked forever by steel ribbons that connected here to there. Elsewhere in the United States, the railroad boom had nearly run its course. More than 75% of all the track that would ever be laid, all the way to the present day, was already on the ground and functioning as part of the national network. In Texas, only half of the railroads that would be constructed had been constructed. It became the last great railroad frontier. Texas was transformed. Train depots, often today seen as tumble-down relics in small towns across the state, are potent symbols of that steam whistle era. These decaying buildings once served as almost magical portals that rescued once isolated people from their remote lives and transported them to cities and destinations they once could only have seen in books, magazines, or newspapers. Distances, once the great challenge for settling Texas, shrank. A hard journey that once took weeks to complete and had been full of danger and discomfort now took hours, or at most days. Other than soot and cinders smudging a person's traveling smock, there was little to fear from a train trip. There were occasional accidents, but railroads proved a safe and convenient way to cross the Lone Star State. Depots also connected businesses. The freight yards and express depots held goods that porters and handlers would eventually whisk away on outbound trains to distant markets. Inbound trains brought consumers goods, farming supplies, and raw materials for building towns, businesses, and prosperity. These new connections came at a price. Railroads and the men who owned them understood that they controlled most of the transportation and freight business. This gave them a huge amount of influence over Texans, from local town councils to the halls of the capital. Scores of towns that had flourished for many years withered as rails passed them by. Castroville, for one, shrank in importance in favor of a new commercial center, Hondo. Washington City, where Texas independence had been declared in 1836, figured that its location on the Brazos would keep it important well into the future. When town leaders refused to cooperate with the railroad companies, the tracks took a different route. As a result, Washington City on the Brazos River became a ghost town. Railroads were rearranging the political and cultural geography of Texas. Jefferson, Texas became an example of what might happen to a town at odds with a railroad. Located on Big Cypress Bayou, the stream's deep channel allowed steamboats to travel from northeast Texas all the way to the Red River in Louisiana near Shreveport, and from there all the way to the Mississippi Valley. The town had prospered off this freight and passenger traffic for decades. When Jay Gould and representatives of the Texas Pacific Railroad arrived in Jefferson, they requested financial and real estate incentives from the locals to bring their tracks through town. The citizens, convinced that steamboat traffic would continue to compete with railroads economically, refused their offer. So the railroad instead passed through Marshall, Texas. A few years later, the logjam that kept water in Cypress Bayou broke, and the stream drained until only a shallow creek remained. Stranded steamboats lined its banks, stuck in the mud. Some say the logjam had been dynamite on purpose, But whatever the case, Jefferson lost its position as an inland port, and people started moving away. Towns that lay along the tracks prospered. Others shrank or disappeared.